My name is Christine Lucier, and I'm one of the vice presidents here of the board of directors. Nelson can't be with us today. His granddaughter is receiving her bat mitzvah, so we are wishing them well. They're there. Thank you for coming on this chilly morning when snow was forecasted. If you were here yesterday, there were some squalls that went through. If you would go ahead and like to rise, please, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Before we start, I'd like to recognize all veterans in the room. If you would please raise your hand and be recognized. Thank you very much for your service. Along with the veterans are the families who stand by them and support them and suffer along with them. We thank them as well. And in their honor, and for Monday's Armistice Day celebration of Veterans Day, we now pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Unfortunately, we do not have Wally with us this year. Wally Wilkinson, who usually regales us with his patriotic singing. You would not want me to do that. I'm running out of the room in droves. We can't afford to lose anybody at this point. So thank you for coming, despite the bad weather forecast. Christine.
Great, thank you. I'd like to introduce our head table. We have Prim Pelletier, our general manager, Ron Smith, another vice president, George Riley, secretary, John Palladino, treasurer. We have Don and Peter and Justin here from EVP Creative. Chuck sends his apologies. He was not be able to make it today. He's our accountant. And Ed Ford as well is unable to attend. So, I'm going to sit here. From the beginning, if I can have a motion to approve the minutes of the 2018 annual meeting. There is a video of this meeting on our website in the owners section, and you can see that on YouTube. This one is also being videoed in case you really want to watch it again one more time. A second. Any comments, questions?
Corrections?
Deletions?
Thank you. I do slave over it, honestly.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah.
Opposed? Abstain? You can see it's going to be a group effort meeting here today. We'll do our best. I would like to, if it's okay with everyone, I'd just like to move the president and general manager's comments and questions and answers to the end, because I have a feeling that as we go through the meeting and talk about everything that's said, it will probably answer your questions, and then maybe we'll have more time at the end to just have it more casual and ask. So, the report sent with the annual meeting to the owners, you all should have received, and if you didn't, they're up here on the table in the front. The legal report from attorney Ed Ford. It's the green paper. It's on the back of nominating committee. And as you would have seen in our financials, so we did have a pretty high number for our legal report, along with the usual foreclosures and different things that come up with running a resort. We were sued and had to obviously reply. Long and involved, on and through. The end result is it did go to mediation, has been resolved. However, we spent an awful lot of money to reach that point. The suit was, so to give you the legal names. Across the street, does everybody know? So if you cross the street, we own over to the right, as you're looking over there. We have some of our stuff there. Then there's that little neighborhood. Further in the back, if you follow the road, go through to where the golf course goes, there's another set of townhouses over there. They are not part of us. They look like us, but they're not part of us. They, in turn, their road needs to be paved and needs some work done on it. And obviously, the more people that you have paying for it, the less it's going to be. So they decided that the golf course, the people in that neighborhood, and that we should help pave their road. And guess what? The golf course, the people in the houses, and we all said, no. In turn, they said, fine, we'll sue you. And everybody said, fine, go ahead. So, long bum through, ended up going to mediation. We are not paying for their road. Nothing changed for us. People in the houses, I don't think anything changed, but really, our concern was us. Our guys are still gonna take care and maintain our section of the road. If there's snow, they're gonna plow, it's gonna be in and out, it's through. I just pretty much don't want you to worry that all of a sudden we're paying for somebody else to maintain a road. It's sort of like if your neighbors 2 streets over decided that everybody in the whole neighborhood was gonna pay for their road to be paved. Yeah, no, it's not how it works.
I'd like to
Sure.
clarify this a little bit.
Jim?
I'm in an interesting position that I'm in both sides of the fence. I own over there, I own over here. And the reason the lawsuit occurred is because the Roebuck West has been paying for the road maintenance for 20 years with no help. And the association over there does not own the road. It's actually owned by everybody. So our ownership finally decided, why don't we all share it and make it happen? And actually Cold Springs has been a good part of it. It's been mainly the other people, golf course. Fortunately, everybody had to get sued. You just couldn't exclude anybody. So fortunately, it's all done. We don't have to deal with that anymore.
Thank you very much, appreciate that. Next is the annual operating expense and financial treasurer's report from Chuck, who is not here. Chuck said that if anyone, and again, he was very apologetic, he sent a very nice email. If you have any questions, comments, concerns at all, feel free to get it here to the resort. We will get it right to him. Someone will be in touch with you. Don't feel that if you have a question for Chuck, you've missed your opportunity. I did say to him, I'll just defer to John, it'll be fine. So, that being said, I am going to go ahead and defer to John. So if anyone has questions about the financials, white piece of paper, yes. Big, long, little writing, white pieces of paper. And John is also, the budget, John has also been working on our 5-year plan. So the budget is on the tan sheet of paper.
Does anybody have any questions about last year's expenditures and this year's budget?
Just a question, it looked like you had an operating deficit, can you go into that?
Yeah. On the bottom, it'll show a $200,000 deficit. But if you go up to depreciation, there's nothing in the budget that shows anything for in the budget, original budget, there's nothing that shows for depreciation. If you go over to the actual, it shows $195,682.96 depreciation. That's not really, that's just an accounting measure. So if you take the 195 out of the 200,000, we had to make up about $5,000.
Well, just one more question, in that little white paper you had, it looked like the number was about 348 or something like that was the operating deficit, and that you moved the capital fund money over to reduce that amount? Is that what I'm seeing in that budget?
No, the total amount is the same. If you look over the total under 2019, under his sheet, you'll see on the bottom is 200,658.
But didn't you move money from the capital fund to reduce that amount?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I think it was the actual operating deficit was 300 and something.
Yeah, we combined the two amounts. Those are combined.
It's a combined, bear with me, where are you?
Right here on the profit and loss.
Profit and loss.
That's the accounting part. That Chuck at the end. Also, a lot of our, we used to be able to capitalize a lot of stuff, and now through accounting rules, he does expense it more, and that's good because we don't pay taxes.
Well, I
But it
noticed
makes a difference at the end.
you spent the money in maintenance,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it seems to me, just a thought, I gave you the account to invest it better, that you would charge it against the capital fund till that's gone, instead of using that to offset the operating deficit. It doesn't look like you're using that money for capital expense.
Yeah, that's a check question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And most of this is accounting.
yeah,
I understand that.
yeah.
Would it be okay if we took your name, number, email, and had Chuck answer that for you?
John O'Hare,
John, yeah.
John J. O'Hare, 1@hotmail.com.
Hotmail.
Hotmail.com.
And that's
All right, we'll get you your answer. Thank you.
Yes, I have a question about the cost of resales. It was planned for 13,000, and then there was something 9,000 with a minus. Does it mean that there was an income of 9,000, and then for this year you have, next year you have 3,000?
Which sheet are you looking at? The beige one?
I'm looking at the beige
Look at the beige
All
one.
right, what is it? I couldn't make out what you were saying.
Cost of resales,
Okay.
cost of
Right here.
resales.
So it's a negative 943282.
The cost of lease,
The actual was 9,000, the budget was 13.
that account is really strange because what goes in there is any deposit that we have, like say somebody buys a unit or gives a unit back to us and pays money, that becomes a minus. And then when we pay out of there, like to Grafton County to have all these deeds done, that becomes a plus. So it's not the cost of resales per se, it's like when people give us units back or when we send out, like every week we give a week out and we have to pay, to get it recorded, so that's what makes that amount go down. It's a strange account.
That makes me feel better than.
Yeah, it's not, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Chuck. Chuck.
Dan?
I have two questions on the budget. We have allotted for this year's budget, $20,000 for late charges. Then we've allotted $29,000 for unit resales. Now, the difference, or adding those two numbers up, as opposed to the actual for 2018, there's a difference on the late charges of roughly $20,000. And on the resale, there's a difference of $16,000. How do we justify those numbers?
What late charges, are you talking about account 4002?
4002, that's correct.
Okay, when you look at that, you see what we budgeted, and you look at the 5283 actual, is that what you're looking at?
Yes.
Okay. The reason for that is because of the foreclosure that we had in March, and all the finance charges that were normally due to us had to be written off. And that totaled $24,591. And we had to write them off. That's why you only see an income of 5283.
So how does that become income if we're writing money off?
No, it would have been income, but we had to take it out of there. Late charges are money that comes to us when
Right.
people don't pay their maintenance, okay? And so we allowed about 20,000 for the year. And if you, that 5382, if we hadn't have done a foreclosure, that would have been plus 24,591. But we had to write that off, so we had to come from that account.
Is that the same thing then for unit resales?
What's
Account 4012.
That's a little bit different. The 12,950 is what we received for, we got under what we had budgeted for. That's just sales, period.
Okay. Last year we budgeted 25,000, we realized 13. And this year you're budgeting 29,000.
You got it backwards.
Where are you getting?
You have it backwards.
No, we budgeted down 25.
31st.
Well,
20
yeah, yeah.
is the 25.
We budgeted 25, we realized 13,
Yeah, and now we budgeted
now we're
25.
budgeting 29,000.
No, we're budgeting.
No, you're
25.
reading it backwards. So
Backwards,
it was,
yeah.
the first line is budget for 2019.
Oh, I'm sorry,
It's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
No, it's fine.
Yes,
We're
you're right.
budgeting 25. We're being
Okay.
optimistic that we're gonna have more sales this year.
Okay.
We're hoping, it's gonna be a great year.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Sure. Anybody else? No, let's hear, go ahead, sure.
The maintenance fees go up, down, the state thing?
Stay the same.
Stay the
Oh,
same.
next year? We haven't decided, that hasn't been decided yet.
2020.
That hasn't been decided yet. The first half of this fiscal year has stayed the same. We don't know about April yet. That hasn't been decided.
What is the fiscal year?
July 1st to June 30th.
And this budget is for,
This is for, 2020 is for July 1st of
2019.
2019 to June 30th of 2020.
and we don't know what the maintenance fees are for this year?
We haven't determined them yet, because what we have to do is we have to take into account, we usually increase by whatever the economy is, and that hasn't been factored in as yet. But it'll be, if anything, a slight increase, nothing significant. What was it last year, Corinne? How
I
much
think it
was
was the year
the,
before, I think it was 3%.
well, do you remember how much it was?
About
The
3%.
increase was
Cost of living is around 3.
Yeah, about 3%.
3%? It's not, whatever it is not going to be a significant amount. Won't change that much.
Shall we move on to our 5-year plan? Any other questions? If you think of anything throughout the year too, feel free, email, let us know. John's email is everywhere. You need John.
It is.
It is, it's all there. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Sure.
Last year, just so you are aware that you won't see up here, we accounted for about $189,000 in replacement fee money, even though we didn't receive it all this year. I think we took in about $134,000. But we hadn't used some at the end of last year because of the weather. If you can remember, last year it snowed when we were here. And there were some things that were being done that were started and had to be stopped because of the weather. So we make sure we spend the money that's coming in for replacement fund, because we want to keep upgrading the units and the facility, exterior of the facilities as we go along. What you see up on the screen now is, these are normal maintenance. I just want you to be aware of the cost just to keep this place going. This is normal maintenance, so it would include roofs, painting, anything interior, exterior that has to be changed over, whether they be couches and any kind of furniture at all in bedding. This is something that Corinne does and prepares for annually. So if we can just scroll down to the bottom on 2019, you can see in 2019, 2020, she's proposing to spend about $199,280 on any kind of purchases or repairs for all the properties. We have 77 units, a number of buildings. Even $199,000 doesn't sound like a lot. But it gives you an idea that there's a plan in place for these. And we're trying to bang away at it every year to make sure that nothing gets to the point where it's in disrepair, or old furniture is not uncomfortable. We can't make it 100% because there's just so much money that we can spend. We do have additional monies, which is the replacement fund, and that's in the vicinity between $130,000 to $140,000 a year, if everybody pays their maintenance fees on time. So one of the things I wanted to show you is that each year, as you can see, it lessens in the last 4 years, 3 years, to 116 or 124. That's not what we're going to spend. We're going to spend a lot more than that. But you have to leave room for any kind of emergencies or anything that comes up. So this here is more in line with what we spend per year. And we have a maintenance budget. If you look at the budget, there's a maintenance budget which is different. It appears different than the replacement fund. In reality, the replacement fund basically is added to the maintenance fund. So it gives us in the vicinity of, if you look at your tan budget, repair and maintenance is $370,000. The replacement fund is not included in that 370, but will be added to it as needed to continue to make this place look better and better every year. And our staff and the outside contractors are working constantly. If you were here this next week, you'd see 5 or 6 different trucks here doing all kinds of different things, including roofs. We're having new roofs on building 4, is it, Corinne?
It's already been done.
Building 4 is getting a new
It's
roof?
been done.
It's been done?
They're
Yeah,
fast.
and the back of the log,
It's
yeah,
already
done.
done. So that's one thing that's included in the budget. So this is what we're looking at, and if you want to take a look at this, if you want to scroll slowly, Peter. And it's based on building to building. So when you go into one of your units and say, gee, I was in another unit and the tile floor is done in the kitchen, but it's not in my unit, that's because it's not on the schedule yet, but it will be. We're going to get to everything, but it takes time. And what people have to understand is there are people here, and when people are here, you can't work. You can't be banging on walls and pulling up floors when there's somebody next door. So we have a limited amount of time where we can actually get things done. And this is one of the weeks. April is another week. And in fact, they do move people around to do buildings so that maybe half of a building or a whole building is empty during a slow period of time, which might have been last week or the week after the maintenance week, which may be slower. So we try to get as much done as we can. And even our maintenance people, when they're doing things in the units like replacing floors or countertops, they're doing it during slower periods of time. You're not going to see people working in the summertime because there are very few units available. So you can see what we're talking about when we look at this. The lodge is getting a new back roof this year. Is that done or is it going?
Yes, done.
The roofing contractor that we have now did a fantastic job. Last year we were in in April, we were in building 8, and they did the roof in building 8, and they were fantastic. We could actually sleep when they got here at 7 o'clock, and they didn't wake us up, believe it or not. But they did an excellent job. So we're going to continue to do all of these things. Now, Peter can scroll slowly, and you can see what is happening each year. And, you know, when you're talking about replacing couch sets, $17,000, that's a lot of money. But we're not replacing every couch set. We're replacing some in one of the buildings. Now, as he goes through that, if there's any questions about that, I want to talk to you about the top 10 list that we did 2 years ago, where we're at with that, and other suggestions. And again, keep in mind that this is a fluid process, so my email is out there. If you have suggestions, we don't look at it, a suggestion as being a bad suggestion. Some people have made some recommendations that were a little over the top, and there's no way that we're going to be able to. One person recommended a spray park for the kids. It's just not, it's not in our budget. I mean, you can't do something as elaborate as that. But there were a lot of suggestions that were excellent that we've incorporated. Out of the top 10 list that we did a couple of years ago, we are videotaping, that was one of the items, videotaping the annual meeting. That's been completed, and if you go on the website, you'll see last year's meeting and you will see this year's meeting. The east buildings were decorated inside in the hallways with pictures. That's all been done, so that not only is there a chair rail and painting below the chair rail, there are now pictures on the wall, so it gives it a little homier atmosphere. We do have foam toppers. If anybody's not happy with their mattress, we have limited number of foam toppers if you need a softer mattress or whatever. That's done. The one item that was a major item was the pool enclosure. And that pool enclosure was done, and we saw the effects of that this summer, how nice the pool looked, the people who came this year. I have to recognize Stu and Ellen Little. While they were here, they happened to be, Stu was swimming on his back, and they're part of our oversight committee. And so you can see our oversight committee is on duty 52 weeks a year. He noticed there was something wrong with the tiles way up in the ceiling that nobody was seeing. And they emailed me and they said, gee, we saw this and we think there's a problem. So I emailed it to Corinne. Mark and Corinne took a look at it. Sure enough, there was a problem. And we were having difficulty in there because the temperatures had risen over 100 degrees. And it turned out that the tiles were defective. They caught it within 2 months of the warranty. And the whole roof is going to be replaced at no cost to us, of course. So those are the kinds of things that the Oversight Committee does for this. I mean, it was by chance that they saw it, but they were used to looking for things, and they brought it to our attention, and we got to it right away. So I wanted to thank them. And but once it gets fixed, it'll be back to normal, and everything will be wonderful. It really does look nice when it's completed. So the other thing that we worked on, and the Oversight Committee had been for years talking about exits off of buildings 3, 4, 5, and 8. And come to find out, as we did the research on this, how much it was going to cost and everything, we found out that when the buildings were built, they had a system of sprinklers in there that were dry sprinklers, and that there was no need for exits because the hall will never, if there's any fire at all, will never burn. That the dry sprinklers will take effect immediately and allow people exit out. So we saved that expense, and ideally it would have been nice to put up decks. The expense was significant. The other thing we were concerned about is that any kind of decking there would block the bottom units, and they would get a lot less sun in, and it'd be dark pretty much the whole day in the unit. So by avoiding that and by making sure people are still safe in those units, we felt it was a win-win.
What's the dry sprinkler?
Mark, dry sprinklers.
Basically, a pressurized system is a head that pops off,
like he's in here, and that melts on the fire, and then it drops, and it charges. Most of the systems at like 50 PSI, there's 2 heads per hallway.
Does it do
Wind
a powder?
Water.
And we had it all tested, it's all been tested. Yeah.
It's not just air.
It's funny because it's called a dry system, but it's not dry.
We had them done in the, when did we have, what is that, a couple of months ago, we had them all done? Through the people who test these, and they said there was really, everything was fine, there's, you know, maybe once a year or something, that's all. That's all you need.
That's another point.
One fire
Before
was
we
enough.
moved forward, we made sure that they were working effectively and that they had been seen by professionals to make sure that they were operational. And they were. Yes?
So how do you test them without getting a flood?
Oh, they have, the company knows how to, yeah. We put a match under it.
They have to run. Did you have a question?
Now, or you want to?
No, go ahead.
I'm sorry?
You want questions now, or wait till you finish?
On what?
On the spreadsheet.
Sure, on this one.
So there are a lot of similar items that are done in more than one building, like gas and tile, draperies and mattress covers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that if you go out to bid on those items, you get at least 2 bids on those things? At
We-
least 2?
We have providers that do that. We do some of the work ourselves here. Our maintenance crew does some of the work themselves. Some of the tiling has been done by our people. Some get subbed out, and
Yeah, we've gone out before and we have one company locally that does it and they've always been really good to us, giving us a good price, so. But every time we have to do a kitchen, we don't go out and get bids for it. We usually have somebody that's on, they know our schedule and they'll come and do it, so.
So supposing we had 5 buildings that had new bathroom parts,
Mhm.
and the plan is to do 5 buildings in the next fiscal year.
Right.
So do you get bids on 5 all at once, or do you get bids on one at a time?
We have a set price, they've given us a set price to come. They've been doing this for like 2 years and it's always been the same price.
But we don't know if it's good or bad if we don't have other prices. And do you give, my question is, if there's the same product that's in more than one building, when you get prices, do you get prices on all the 5 buildings, or do you get prices on one building at a time? Because if you go out and get a price for the same work in 5 buildings, it should be a lot less than if you get a bid for one building at a time.
The problem is here in Ashley, New Hampshire, is finding that many people that do tile, okay? We have one company that we had that came and did, and they did a lousy job, so we went to this other company, and they've been doing a great job, giving us a good price, so we've just continued with them. We don't go every time we need to have somebody, get a bid from somebody else. We don't go to Lowe's or, all these places. That's how we do it. Because they can't all be done at once. Normally, if somebody says they're gonna come in and do a bid, they're gonna wanna do those 5 all at once.
Well, ideally, but if they know they're gonna do 5 within 12 months, you get a better price than if you just do it one at a time.
Yeah. Well, what we have now, it's been the best one. I mean, I can put it out to bid again, but.
Yeah, I have to, on the other side, we deal with the same issue, because we're dealing with the same contractors.
Yeah.
And it's just what you have to do here. We have to do 1 or 2 ourselves, because there's just not availability of the people. It's a constant battle. It's gotten worse.
Yeah. They want big jobs when they come in. That's what they want.
Yeah, the immigration changes made a big impact on people coming from Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Work or availability. Yeah, you're right.
I can assure people that this resort is not just sending out work to somebody and not worrying about price. I mean, in order for us to keep our head above water, we've got to worry about everything, but you also want quality.
Yeah.
The people who are doing the roofs now are actually from Framingham. And we just think they do a much better quality roof than we've had in the past. So we're hoping long-term that saves us money.
What is a chimney box?
Chimney boxes, at the top of the building, you'll see there's these boxes at the top,
On a chimney.
and they're for the chimney. I mean, it's like you would see a stone chimney on a house, and they have to be,
Or a pipe, stone pipe.
right, they have to be repaired. That's what that
They're
is.
made of wood, that's why.
Okay, is everybody all set on this? Okay. The others in the top, on the top 10 list, we are getting to. And those are the kitchen floors. We are making sure that every kitchen floor on our property here is tiled. Okay? If anybody wants to take, the next item is, if anyone wants to go up and see what we've done with exterior landscaping, go up to Reach Buildings, all of the large cumbersome bushes that we had in front of Reach are now gone. They've been replaced by low maintenance, smaller bushes like rose bushes and other low growing. It's been all mulched over. We've gotten rid of all of the weeds, and it will be constantly maintained by the people who are doing our landscaping.
It looks wonderful.
Thank you. It's been a work in progress, and we have other places to do. Spring House is another location that we have to take a look at. Building 2 has a lot of larger bushes. The Oversight Committee has been trying to work with the board on getting this stuff done, because it's very difficult to put covers on when you have a bush overhanging. And just to clean out, to keep those air conditioners clean and free of branches coming in and out of them has been difficult. And Reaches will now be easy to do. Spring House is another area that really needs it done.
Well, it's great for curb control.
It's what?
Curb appeal.
Yes, that's exactly, we're trying to sell. And when people come up here, they need to see that it looks neat and proper and there's no weeds in them. And it wasn't looking good in the last few years. So we had to do this, and it's something that I think will help us long term. Not only will it look good for us, it'll look good for other people coming in to stay at the resort. And they may say, hey, this might be a good place to buy.
Are they planting annual flowers that come up every year?
We have flower boxes that they're doing.
Annual that come up every year?
Annual.
That's
Well, the
perennial.
perennials. Yes, they
Yeah,
yeah.
come up every year.
Yeah.
You know, crocuses, hyacinths, tulips, daffodils,
Yeah, we have some along the signs up here, they all come up. Yeah, we've been doing that.
not just in the boxes, I mean in front of the building.
Well, what they put in there is all, I mean,
Yeah.
they're all bushes.
There's
that are-
some of the lower growing are perennial.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see next year, we'll see how it goes.
I can't wait.
You're gonna wait till spring.
Building Dudley.
We're also replacing all of the lighting around the resort with LED lightings, and LED lighting, and we're doing that as needed. Where are we at percentage-wise with that, Mark, do you think?
I know all building 3 is totally LED, neon lights, everything. We overhauled that last winter, we're replacing them as we go. Percentage-wise, probably at 35% of this place.
You said about 35% is done. One of the buildings is completely done. I didn't hear which one you said, but right, building 3. So as is needed, they're replacing the lights as they're going right on through.
And the oversight committee, when we go into buildings, if some place is really, really seemingly in need of it. If it's not lighted as well as it should be, we'll make the changes. The problem is the pot lights and all of those are much more difficult for us to do, and having all of those available to change right away. The maintenance people will do that as it's needed. But as we renovate, we will continue. The building 3 is a prime example, as they were doing work, and then they just did the whole building. So, and that's I would say within a couple of years we should be all LED. One of the other suggestions was tankless water heaters, and the east buildings are the target for those, but we're not going to exchange until we need them. We're not going to pull out something that's working. So as needed, that will happen, and hopefully it doesn't happen fast.
Floods.
Why is it that the hot water takes 10 minutes to get up to the faucet in the lodge?
That's the tankless probably.
One of the issues that we've had here is that the water's been really hot. And my assumption is that we've made some changes. Accurate?
Those are all.
At 10 minutes, it's lukewarm.
That's up to
Lukewarm.
Yeah.
You know what, definitely, I'm gonna ask, can you definitely tell them at the desk, just so they can take a look at it this week, where it's maintenance week, so it's not up to them. Yeah, and if anybody has anything that you're noticing in the unit you're in that may not be in your other unit,
You pay for
Yeah.
water?
please
Oh, yeah.
say it at the desk so that they can look into it. Something we want everybody to know, if you're here at any time between January and now, and something in your unit isn't right, please immediately let them know at the desk. Because if you wait till now, we've had all the time, look what have happened with the
You're just here
tiles.
this week, is that why you're saying, okay. That comes off
Yeah.
in the oil or the hot water there, so I'm not sure.
All right, but yeah, good to know, just so they know, they can look at it. Sorry, John?
Yes.
I noticed there's nothing on here about redoing the bathrooms, which was one of those things that we started to do.
Redoing bathrooms?
Bathrooms, yes,
What do you
with the
mean?
tile floor.
Oh, that's.
They
what
are
you're doing.
being done.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying, suggesting it's not on here.
Oh.
Oh, probably because it's already being
It's
done.
not here, though, I
It's not in
believe.
his top
It's
10.
tiling. Yeah, it's not on my list because it's being done as part of regular maintenance. Yeah, we're attacking both the kitchens and the bathrooms as we go along. And one of the units that, I think Paul's unit, has both of them done. I'm next door, the unit, I have the bathroom done, but not the kitchen done yet. So it's, as we move along, those are getting done.
When we do the kitchens, are we doing the entranceways? Is that part of the same?
Yes.
The entrance, our entranceways are done.
Oh, yeah.
All of each are done.
The entranceway, the bathrooms, and the kitchens, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
John, the tankless hot water heaters, I mean, the water's so cold up here, and especially in the fall and winter. Our experience is it takes a while for that water to heat up. Maybe if they're down south, fine, but have you tested that up here?
I know plenty of people who got things.
Really? Okay.
I've got one in my house.
Okay. That's fine, I'll take your word for it.
Are you thinking about heat pumps, is that what you're thinking?
No, the
Yeah.
tankless.
Oh,
No,
okay.
we've used them in Massachusetts, and it's been chilly.
I thought that was interesting. Yeah.
All right, the last item is a big item that we're working on right now. And that is, a number of people, when they come up here, whether they're owners or renters or exchangers, they will tell us that they enjoyed their stay here, they love the staff, the place was clean and everything, it's just outdated. And often they're talking about the things you just mentioned, the bathrooms, the kitchens. So we want to upgrade the cabinets, we want to look into whether it's more reasonable to paint the cabinets and put new hardware on there? Or is it better to bring in, our cabinets are wood cabinets. Today, to get wood cabinets, solid wood cabinets, is very expensive. The stuff you'll see in Lowe's at bargain prices, they chip away, they laminate, they fall apart. We don't want to go that route. If we've got solid wood, it may be cheaper for us to paint them and keep a more solid cabinet. So we're looking into that, and that's the last of the top 10 list. That's our priority going forward. So we're hoping that soon you'll see some kitchens and vanities in the bathroom either replaced or preferably just upgraded so that they look more modern. So that's a work in progress for us, and again, when you're looking at all of this, you're talking about a significant expense. So it does take time for us to get to it, and we have a limited time to do the work. So that will happen over at least a couple of years before we get anything done on that in terms of completion, once we decide which direction we're going to go in, and the cost. There are a number of other suggestions that we're looking at, and I thank the people for sending them in. One is, somebody had mentioned listing units for sale on the website. We've started to do that, but if you want a more extensive list, we can put it on for owners specifically.
No, they can call me.
They call Corinne.
They can call me to see what's.
Call Corinne if
Yeah.
you want an extensive list.
Um,
Please.
Somebody mentioned the barrels in front, the oak barrels in front that were falling in disrepair. Well, those have now been taken care of with the landscaping that was done in front of Reach, and they will be taken care of by the people who are doing our landscaping. So those won't look as though they're, and we've seen some that were in bad shape. We're going to look at replacing, these are some suggestions that we haven't attacked yet, but replacing fireplace screens. As you can see, these are minor items, so we've really attacked the major items. So what we're talking about is small things. Deck furniture, getting some newer deck furniture up and getting rid of the white plastic or the ones that have been up there, the older ones. So we're replacing them as we go. Tennis court fencing is in the plan. If you hadn't noticed, I think it's 2021. It's listed to replace the fencing around the tennis court. Kitchen floors and painting cabinets are already in. Somebody mentioned lighting in the rear of the buildings, and we'll take a look at that. Right now, there is no lighting there, but somebody requested that. And squeaky floors.
Yeah.
We do have squeaky floors. What I've noticed, the building I'm in now, the floor in the bedrooms upstairs are not squeaky. So, and they have new carpeting in there, so I'm making the assumption that the people came in and tightened up on those floors. And that, all I can tell you is when we replace carpeting, we're going to take a look at that, because I think it's important, especially in the east buildings, when you have people on top of you, especially if you have little kids running around. So, and that's basically, just remember, this is a fluid process, and I'm giving you everything that people had requested. So it's not like we have a large punch list. I mean, some of the items are very expensive, and it's going to take time to get to them all, but we're moving in that direction. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a suggestion, John. On those rear lights, you may very well consider using solar-powered spotlights. Those things work like a champ with motion detectors. So when you walk out, the lights up, and they will light up a football field. They're just phenomenal. And you don't have to wire them. You don't have all the...
Are we talking about Real lights?
In the back of the
Yeah,
building.
yeah. Good idea.
Yeah, and they're cheap, $29 or $20 for a set.
Gotta get rid of trees, so the light is coming through solar panel.
That's not,
Great, thank
that's
you.
not necessary. I live in Texas, and we have them in our backyard, and in one section of the backyard, I have woods and a creek, and we have those lights that he's talking about along our back fence. And they go off all night long as the critters go by. Wonderful, wonderful sense of security. For myself, when my husband does his business trips, and the lights go off, I know whether it's something to be alarmed about, or if it's just one of my dogs, I have 6, or if it's one of the wildlife. And they do light up my entire yard, and I have about an acre yard, so they light up the good portion where I have, probably the size of this room, one light will light up from my home.
If you happen to know the name of it, could you email it to John?
I can double check with my husband.
That'd be great, thank you.
You're talking solar motion light.
All right, shall we move on to?
Yes, that's what he's talking about.
Oops, go ahead, go ahead.
Just one more suggestion about modernizing and updating, and that would be with bedding. Heavy bedspreads, I don't think you see a hotel anymore anywhere that has a heavy bedspread on the beds, and they've replaced them all with blankets with duvet covers and things like that, and I think that would go a long way to updating and modernizing the appearance of the units.
Well,
That's what we're working on.
We were
Yeah,
talking,
having-
we've been talking about
That's
that,
what we
yeah,
have
with the
now.
scarves at the end and the whole, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure,
So,
thank you.
I just have a couple of questions, and I'm glad you talked about the 5-year plan. My 5-year plan is more concentrated on the sales of the units, and I think this is more, and I applaud you for what you're doing in the board. This is more maintenance stuff that needs to be done in order to make this resort attractive. So I'm concerned about that, and that answers my question. But my other questions are, what is the 5-year plan, or 5-year master plan going to look like so that we can grow this unit, not put up more buildings, but not have 90 foreclosures that exist in March? We have a marketing team that has been here for approximately 4 or 5 years, and I'm more in tune to that, because if we don't sell these units, the maintenance fees are going to go up, and 2% is nothing, but when you get to 5, 10, 15, like you had mentioned, you only have a certain amount of money to do something, and I think when I looked at the scrolling going down, and this man talked about it, the bedspreads have to go. And personally, I think they need to go, but when you look at the unit that we're in, I think it said 2023 or 2022. Those things, that's not gonna work now. If you're trying to sell units, you can't have old bedspreads. And I'm not criticizing Corinne at all, because Corinne and the board does an awesome job with what they have. But my 5-year plan is more or less, where are we going? What is this marketing team doing for us? These are maintenance things that have to be done. If you don't maintain your product, you're not going to have a product that's going to sell. And like you mentioned several times, we need to sell to millennials. We need to get people that are younger than what's in this room to buy this product. So these are things that need to be maintained, but my 5-year plan is, where are we gonna be in 5 years? We have to do these things. And I applaud you for doing everything that you're doing, because those are things that need to be done.
We agree with what you're saying.
Yep.
It's something we discuss every board meeting.
Absolutely.
Every single board meeting. We're talking about how do we get to how do we get to people? What should be the population we're attacking? One of the things EVP has done for us has increased our rentals significantly.
Great.
So that when you take a look at the number of, if you have 100,000 or 200,000 in rentals, whatever that number is, 124,000, you take a maintenance fee and divide it into it, that's like selling a unit. And no matter how we do this, there's still only going to be 2,800, 2,900 weeks sold, because there are some weeks that are just too difficult to sell.
Right.
You know, and you're not going to get a family buy in the middle of November when there's no vacation. So it's very difficult to sell certain times of year. And there are a number of weeks that are in that category. So I always like to look at 3,000 as the figure that if we could get to that, we'd be very healthy. And that's a goal. But you have to add in, we have about 2,800 or something like that now. You have to add in what we're taking in for rentals and include that. Obviously, we'd like to have every week sold.
Sure.
That's not gonna happen.
I mean, that's not feasible at all.
And we have an older population.
Yep,
So we're going to lose some people.
yep.
But we want to make sure that either it gets passed on generation to generation, or we bring in a new group of people here. I can tell you in the summer, I have seen more younger couples in the summer, whether they own or rent, I don't know. And renting is tough during the summer because there isn't a lot of availability. But I've seen over the past 5 years, a change in the population that's actually here during the week that I'm here.
I've seen that, and I applaud everyone that's doing that. One of the things that I wanted to bring up as well is that we have an annual meeting, and I look at the website, but the minutes of the meetings that happen during the calendar year, that's something that needs to be posted so that all the owners can see what's going on throughout the year. This is important, but what I would like to do is just ask for the minutes of the meetings per calendar each month are posted on the website so that the owners can see that. Not to check up on people, because that's not needed, because that's why we have you guys. It's more in tune to see what's going on so that we can have a discussion, and if something comes up, we can email you or email Corinne,
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to me.
Yes.
I just want to make a suggestion as far as marketing those off-season weeks. I'm a local. I bought here to use the pool and jacuzzis and so forth, more so than to take a vacation with it. A lot of times I never even use my week at all. So the reason I bought is because to get a membership at the field house at Plymouth State University, it was more expensive than it is for the maintenance fee here. So if you market it to locals as a way of getting, healthier, whatever it is, they might just buy those off-season weeks for the sake of coming to use the property.
Good idea.
Tell your
Yeah.
friends.
We have quite a few.
They can always
We have quite a few
rent
locals.
their week and go someplace else. too.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we have quite a few people.
That's sort of like a good neighbor.
Yeah.
Marketing.
Yes.
Well, we have a unit for the same reason, and we already had 3 of our friends buy a unit over the years, over the last 20 years. But I would like to mention something else, the outdated cabinets. I don't think there's anything more beautiful than the old wooden cabinets in anywhere, kitchens or bathrooms, compared to the new flimsy stuff that falls apart. And instead of painting, you might want to check into having them refinished if it's necessary, and keep the wood. And that could be something that could be pointed out in the advertising, that we have good quality, old good quality, and maybe new hardware if necessary. But all this
Yeah, we're in agreement. I mean, it's just something has to be done. We're just not sure what would be the most cost-effective and the most appropriate for what we need at this point in time.
Yeah. Wood is warm and just gorgeous. Solid wood. The old mark, craftsmanship.
Great.
Anything else before we move on?
A very real ticky-tack thing. But we have some friends who have 3 weeks in the lodge in the summertime. To the best of my knowledge, when they bought, I know this for a fact, they were told that the washer and dryer were not included in any of the lodge units. They were told they could use the one downstairs in housekeeping in the garage, which they did for a little while, but that didn't work out. And so the people who own in the lot that don't have washer and dryer, I think at least, this is such little cost. You guys should make up kind of tokens, and so that when they come and use the washer dryer in the rec building, it doesn't have to cost them money. nobody else pays to have their laundry done or their washing. I think it's just unfair to the people in the lot. If we didn't provide them with any facility, and they said that what that we provided in the beginning just was not feasible, there was too much conflict between them and the maintenance. So how much is it gonna cost us? We're spending like $400,000 a year to repair the building. It has to be done, you guys are doing a great job with it, but for a little amount of money involved, we make that very happy.
There was never a washer and dryer down underneath the bed, that I'm aware of.
No, downstairs from the office.
Yeah, I was in here.
Yeah, no, but you're saying they were told this wasn't even here when they bought the lodge.
No, they were gonna use the maintenance department, they always had a basement. They have washer dryers, that's what they were told.
No, they don't, they never did.
So they don't have any washer dryers in the basement? Well, they're not that one, they're not using them.
The washing and dryers are in this building.
I know they are, yeah.
Yeah, but that's only since this building
We
has
will,
been
we will
made.
definitely take that into consideration. I had no idea, so thank you.
But put a token machine on instead of a money machine, where the owners could use tokens, and the non-owners could buy the tokens.
Yeah.
Yes.
They do that in
And we don't own the
I noticed
machines,
that
so.
when we had a fire in our house, and we had to leave, and our insurance paid for us to stay in a motel, the motel management, they had beautiful washers and dryers on every floor, and we received tokens because we were staying here, so that we could use the washers and dryers. People who were not, staying there as part of the living, of course, had to pay, had to use what have you.
We'd have
But we
to,
often thought about what Jim said, it just seems the obvious solution, and it just seems, and I know there are some people in the lives of the kind of, when they come over and some wish they didn't have to.
You're right, right.
You know,
Yeah.
they just pay
I want to do
they just ready.
we don't own the washer and dryer downstairs, it's a company that was here, so we have to look into what they could do for us.
Check it out.
We will definitely look into that, so, yeah. Great. Thank you.
I guess the only thing that we could possibly do is have them take those away and us put washer and dryer down for them to use. Because it's mostly only people from the lodge that use it. And I'd have to be on
If
the
you
lookout
want
if
to make
anybody
the
wants.
money from it.
Oh, we don't make any money.
No.
Do you rent those, or are they just there?
Downstairs?
Yeah,
No, they come and bring them, but they take whatever money they take it. We never,
but you don't have to pay to have them here.
no.
We used to have a payphone, we had to have to have a payphone, but we didn't get any money out of the payphone either.
Right,
I'm curious, was that same kind of system?
yeah.
All right, if there's nothing else, we'll move on.
Sure, George has a.
I have a point of personal privilege before we continue. I just want to make an observation, okay? I've been on the board here for a long time, and John is just finishing up his first term as a director and treasurer and member of the Oversight Committee. I just want to thank him. He had big shoes to fill with Gary Thomas. Remember him as our treasurer? John came on board with a very practical and pragmatic attitude toward things, which I love. Because often these financial matters are very nebulous and hazy to me. I'm not an accounting person, okay? I'm more of a history, English literature type person. So I appreciate his approach to things because it's very practical. And when we had Mr. Mundy give us that special fund, okay, several years ago, okay, to add to the maintenance fees, I'm sorry, not to the maintenance fees, but just to the general maintenance of the units throughout the resort, John saw that as an opportunity to put that into a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan and show you exactly where that money was going. And as you saw today, okay, it's all broken down, and that's because of him. He's been a dog at this, and he's done a great job with this. And I just wanted to say thank you, John, for your
Thank you, George. All right, we're going to move on to Property Oversight Committee report. I think Paul's over near the window.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Tuzignot, Chairperson of the Oversight Committee. This past April 21st, week of April 21st, we inspected 77 units on our resort with no major issues to report. Our consolidated reports were sent to Corinne on May 18th, listing various problems, nothing to be of major consequences. just, you know, she got the detailed report, and then she'll take that detailed report, whether it's a maintenance issue or a housekeeping issue, and disperse that to those two areas to be taken care of. I would like my oversight committee to stand up, the ones that are here, because without them, I can't do my job. This week, we have 16 couples to inspect these units. Our fall inspection seems to be greater than our spring inspection as far as volume of people here. We've got 16 couples here, which averages out to be about roughly 5 units per couple. So that's going to be our goal this week. Putting on the air conditioning covers. We've got over 156 outside air conditioning covers that we have to cover every year. In the fall, take them off in the spring. It sounds like an easy job, but it's not. It's a tedious job, especially if you have snow and water on top of them. They're going to be dry off before we put these covers on. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
Please. Would you please define what you consider as major repairs?
Major repairs, I would consider if somebody slammed the door against the wall and you got a big hole in your wall, that's a major repair. If a bed, a mattress, you go to lay in it and it's sinking down to the floor, that would be a major repair.
Leach spot.
We have, from a large unit to the spring house units, we have anywhere from a 3-page to a 5-page report that we go through each unit. Spring house units, when the person inspects that unit, he's got 5 or she's got 5 pages to check off when they do that unit. When you do the lodge, you have 3 pages to inspect to see what's going on with the unit. When I say inspect, I'm not just saying, there's a hole in the wall. I'm talking about loose faucet handles. I'm talking about bulbs that are missing out of lamps. I'm talking about doorknobs that are loose. I'm talking about door stops that are missing. We go through all that. We don't just have a 1-page or 2-page checkoff sheet and say, well, we're done in 5 minutes. It takes an average person roughly maybe 20 to 30 minutes to inspect a unit. And then I take all those 77 reports, and then I consolidate what we've done as an oversight committee and what housekeeping has to do or what maintenance has to do. I take all those 77 reports and consolidate them into various reports and submit them to Corinne. I have two couples that go through all the outside areas and inspect the lighting. Are there any lights out? I have them doing the inside emergency smoke detectors. They check every smoke detector in every unit that we have to see if they're working. They have cans of smoke that they put up to the smoke detectors to see if they're working. We really go through these units. We're not just here lolly-dallying around here.
Inside and out.
Yes.
I have a question on the use. Do you have any problem with the use of covers on your air conditioner condensers? Because in Rhode Island, I was told never put a cover on my condenser.
You
bring squirrels.
You bring that up, and I've had people come to me saying you shouldn't put covers on the air conditioner, yet you have some people saying you should. I don't know what the correct answer is, because they say if you put a cover on, the condensation, the humidity inside that unit will affect the wiring and all that. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Well, for us, it was the squirrels. We had squirrel
And mice.
infestation. And the mice. Oh, that's right, the little ones.
They love to chew.
They love to chew the wire.
For them, right?
I have
So I don't put a cover on it.
I have no use for squirrels.
Just so you know, the mice situation, wherever there's an air conditioner, there's usually a little rock-looking feature that's actually baited.
It's a trap.
And it's for the mice to eat what's in there and they die.
This is a good thing.
except you just attract it right into it. Maybe put the bait on the outside.
No, there's, the bait is in, they have to go in and get the bait. And those are done monthly, correct? They're baited,
Yes.
They're baited
as
monthly.
needed, yes.
so they come by, they check to make sure that it's gone.
Yep.
And they put in a new bait strip in there, and the mice don't die there.
No.
They go out looking for water or whatever, and they die outside.
Inside the AC. They're looking for water.
If anybody has any questions or any comments, just send them to the office and they'll get to me, and I'd be glad to do anything I can. And I would just like to compliment them. I've been on this here for over 35 years. And I will tell you right now, you cannot find a better general manager than Corinne. Working with Corinne over the years, Corinne will not spend money foolishly. When it comes to looking for prices, she looks for prices, and she looks for good prices. She does not waste money, believe me, as well as the board of directors. You can't find a resort better than what we have here. You go to other resorts, they're basically run by a property management company. They don't have an oversight committee. I own a facility in Stowe, Vermont. Let me tell you, there's probably 55 time-sharing units in that facility, and my maintenance fees are like over $800. So be thankful for what you have here.
Let's remember the staff here too.
Absolutely. You can't find a better staff than what we have here. Tom will do anything for you. If you asked him to go grocery shopping, he probably would. Thank you very much.
Probably need it though.
Sure, go ahead. As far as the oversight committee, I don't know how many of you remember my boyfriend, Tom Ford, who came up here and painted and did other stuff. He passed away a week and a half ago. His cancer came back and took over. I lost him.
Thank you, we're sorry. All right, well, thank you, Paul, and everyone, your team. Peter, you are in the hot seat, and I am setting the timer, so.
I'll go quick. Yeah, I've been told to be brief.
You told him less is more.
Less is more. So thank you very much. Any questions? Very quickly, you've seen me before, EVP Marketing and Media. We've been helping for about 4 years here to try to figure out a plan and to figure out where we're going to. When we first came on, it was basically how to make this to feel like a hotel and how to book it like a hotel. The more people that come here, the more people that will get to know the place, the more people hopefully that will want to buy here and become part of the family. So what we do is we do website, the design, social media, which is Facebook, TripAdvisor, Expedia. We enter all the questions on there and we keep people engaged on there as best we can. Advertising, email communications, video and photo. We do the newsletter that you get, and if you're not getting the newsletter, Don's got a list to put your email on the list. Last year, people said they weren't getting it, and I got one email. If you're not getting it, or you're not getting the ads we do by email, let us know.
This is sign up at that table.
There's a sign up over there at that table. Please make sure we have your email address. We will check it to make sure you're on the list, and we'll go from there. And then we advise and come up with programs, and we advise on best practices for the board to try to figure out, again, the 5-year plan, to figure out where we're going and how we're going to sell this place. So in 2019, of course, we had the ongoing ad concepts that we put out into Google and to Facebook and video on YouTube to basically sell this place and brand this place as a place to come and stay. Not a timeshare place, a place to come and stay as overnight for a vacation, for 2 nights, for 3 nights, whatever we can do. Just like the Marriott would do, just like any other place would do. New for 2019 was we came up with a program which is called the 5-year ownership plan. And so this is the ad concepts. We do a bunch of different ads, all different sizes. They come up on your phone, they come up in different places. We target them for people who are outdoorsy or people that have already been involved in timeshare, or depending on the campaign. We have numerous campaigns throughout the year. You've seen that in the past. I've talked about that year after year after year as to what we're doing. That has, risen our overall rental rates up, and it's been going up every year. So that's a good thing. That's great. The more people that come here, the more people that see the place, the more people that experience here, there's a better chance they will buy here. But what we did for this year is what's called the 5-year Vacation for 5. And basically what this is, for new people, it's a way to bring owners to Cold Spring, the Cold Spring family, with a try before you buy. So we're saying to millennials and people like that do not want to put their signature on a deed for life, because it terrifies them, and quite frankly, they may not have the money to do it, come and give us a try. And so Corinne is constantly trying to sell regular units, regular weeks, that's fine, but this is to try to get people interested in something, making it a little bit easier for them to buy. So what we did is we supported it with a website landing page, its own page, brochure, lobby display, which you've seen, and then a bunch of ads on Google and Facebook. And this was the landing page and the lobby display, which you can see better out in the lobby. A brochure that gets given to every single person that stays here. That's not an owner here. When they leave, by the way, and I'll tell you some other techniques we're using as well. Ads that went on the Google display as well as Facebook. So, first 3 months of this campaign, and now let me tell you how I targeted this. This is going to people, I can go and say to Google, if you've been to a certain website, I want to feed my ad to them. So if you're Home Depot, you can say to Google, I want anybody that's gone to Lowe's.com to see my ad for Home Depot. So I'm going to timeshare people, I'm going to people that have been to RCI and II and different timeshare things to try to get some excitement about this going. We have, as far as campaigns go, this was amazing. We had 3.7 million impressions. That means Google's feeding us all the time to these people. We had 31,435 clicks to our website. Okay, so people that came to our website to get to that landing page. For most tourism things, the average cost per click is about 49 cents. We were doing it for 7 cents. So we hit a nerve. We hit a nerve. Okay? Other things we did do is the brochure goes to all rental visitors. They come, they check out. Here's a brochure saying, by the way, if you're interested. The other thing that we do, and I don't know if you know that we've been doing this for a long time, but the cost of the rental, they paid $400 that night, for 2 nights or whatever it is. They get a card saying you can use $400 towards buying a unit. So we give that, it's a discount right away, okay? We're collecting their addresses for emails. That's grown dramatically in the last couple of years. And we're ongoing, from periodic ongoing training of the staff to talk sales, to talk everybody to be on that thing. So, how do we do? Well, right now, they're looking but not booking. Yeah. And so, a couple things, we did this campaign, we have another campaign going right now with the 5-year campaign. And what we're realizing, there's a couple things we're realizing that maybe we didn't quite realize when we started this, but we're getting, we're assessing as we go, is the people who are seeing this out in the world are interested, but they don't know anything about Cold Spring. They haven't been here, they haven't experienced Cold Spring. So we got millions of people looking, but we were hoping that they would see for the trade value or any other type of value like that. Like, why don't I just buy a unit for 5 years and I can trade it, or I can do whatever. So it's an interesting concept, but they're not really grabbing on. They have no direct experience with CPS. They're with Cold Spring. They don't know us yet. Yeah.
Do you ever do a link to a video?
There's videos on our site. So there's a video, and we'll talk more about that, about the updating.
Actions.
Correct. And so what we want to do, so one thing, our rentals are up. And the majority of the advertising we did was for this 5-year plan right now. And we did all that other advertising, but it was, this sort of took, we spent a bit of money on this, more money. We don't spend a ton of money on any of this, but we think that those people that came to the site also stayed on the site and saw who we were. So it just raised our brand anyway. So it's not a waste. It's just they're not really buying this product yet. On the other side, I hope you can see this. This is not darker than I thought it was going to be. But are, you know, we're pretty much consistently, last year was a little bit lower, but we're up about $5,000 this year, $6,000. We're going up 3 or 4% a year, and a lot of that probably is because people stayed here, and once you get a lot of people staying here, they start coming back here. So you get an extra 5 to 10% that start coming back. But that's up from before we came, very small number, and we'd love to try to, in the next 4 or 5 years, double that number, because that just means more people coming here and more people knowing who we are, and possibly we can talk them into becoming part of the family. We also, just in engagement, we have an email list that comes from people who stay here and people who click on our website. On the website they can sign up. We got about 375 people this year from our website saying, yes, talk to me. And the rest came from people who stayed here. So we're sending out a monthly emails. Again, if you're not getting them, get on that list so you can see what we're doing. So we'll see what we're saying. Every other month is a rental email, then a sales email. Rental email, sales email. So the messages are stay here, buy here, stay here, buy here. To the same people, but so they're getting sort of a different feel every time. Facebook likes are at 1,675. When in 2016 that was at 340, so that's growing dramatically as well. More and more people are liking us. And then we also are doing promotions. This was a shopping promotion, a skiing promotion, and a golf promotion that we're just putting out on Facebook and posting and pushing that way. And you know, reaches about 5,000 people, 3,000 to 5,000 people each time. You know, a number of engagements, clicks to the website. So we're doing all that as well. So, so for 2020, we continue all the pushes we're doing, and expand upon them, and I'll talk about some other things we want to do in a second. We want to create additional promotions and packages, and even if we don't book tons of people for a promotion or package, it sends the message that we're out there doing innovative stuff and that type of thing. And so it's still advertising, it's still images in front of people's faces. We want to work on, and I'll talk about this more in a second, work on creative new ways to sell traditional timeshare. That's the 5-year plan, and some other things we're thinking about. Explore programs that make Cold Spring more of a traditional resort hotel. And again, bedspreads, things like that, that go into any Marriott, go into anything. That's what we need to start looking like. And because if they come here and they see that and they like it, that okay, I'm with you. But if they come here, we you know, really don't know when they're leaving. We're starting to look at repeat guests and see whether we're getting what that percentage is. And so, but we don't know what if they're having a great impression. And then exploring booking groups, hockey for instance. We got in touch with the hockey people from Waterville Valley. They get overflow because outside to Corinne, they like it here. Well, you guys like it here, and they're okay with it because the hotels in Waterville Valley are starting to kick them out. Because when those kids see a hallway, it becomes a hockey arena. And so here they don't have hallways. So it's but it's not quite as destructive as it is up there. So we're starting to get more and more hockeys. We also had a wedding this spring. We're trying to reach out to the people who do big weddings for overflow for that. We're a fabulous place to host a number of people that are coming to a wedding. But back for a second to work on creative new ways to sell traditional timeshare. We need hooks that are going to, that people are going to like, because I don't think anybody in this room has to be told where timeshare is going right now. What I say to people is, there's points, there's traditional weeks. I see that as Uber and taxis. It's a way it was done, it's being done a different way. Over here, some people like that, some people like this. There's people that like both. We need to concentrate on who are the people that like this. And one of the things that we've thought of, and keep in mind the 5-year thing took a lot of work because we had to talk to the lawyers, we had to get a deed that worked, we had to figure out the laws and figure out how it was going to work. So one of the things we're talking about, and I think we talked about this a little bit a couple years ago, is to do something that is called something like Cold Spring Nights. And you buy a week, but you can use that in a different way. As long as there's availability and whatever, if you need to, if you want to, when you tell Corinne and there's a system to do it, you can say, I want to come for 2 weekends that are winter weekends that hardly anybody ever comes. And I want to use my week that way. Corinne, we go sell the rooms. to rent at another time, but you could use your week in a different way. Don't exactly know how, we just discussed this morning at depth. We put a report together a couple years ago how it might work. But the issue is you could take your week and now you could say that's not 7 days, it's 7 days whenever. So if I want to bring up another couple for a weekend to go skiing, I take 2 of my nights here, 2 of my nights here, I've got 2 condos, and then we try to sell the room as a rental. And so, yep.
Was that the first time you discussed that with Corinne?
We batted this around a few years ago, and it sort of got mired down into logistical issues, and we're starting to work through those. And so, and again, this is going to take a while to make sure the legality and whatever. But it's another thing for Corinne to say to somebody, well, I don't want to come that week for the rest of my life. Oh, no, wait a minute, you can do this. It's another way for our sales team to say, hey, don't worry about that. We have this flexibility. You're not going to use it with another resort. It's not points. It's another way to use your and so you buy a couple of weeks and you have 14 days to go use them whenever you feel like it. Let's say you like to ski, and that's 7 weekends of skiing, as long as there's availability. Yeah.
That plan sounds good, but you're going to cut into your rental income because the weekends are usually full and the weeks aren't. We're going to have someone that's going to do 7 weekends.
We are thinking about that, and it's an availability thing, and keep in mind something that a positive for you guys. We work with a number of different clients, a few different resorts, and you have 70% occupancy right now, annually. And no resort has that. Now, keep in mind, it's at a low rate. You're not getting $250 a night for all those nights. But you have, because of the units that are owned and occupied, or even if they're not used, they're still being paid for, which is only, $100 a night or less. So you're really not getting much money for those, but it's the equivalent of occupancy. And then the $105,000 we're selling in retail, and let's say that can grow, and those are $175 to $250 a night. So higher room rate. The combination of the two is amazing right now. The challenge is to keep that third, quarter or 75% occupied with owners, and then we fill the gaps with the other stuff. Yeah.
I sold timeshare for over 20 years, and every resort I ever worked at had an in-house sales department that would invite people who stayed, whether they were owners or renters, to come to events that were periodic throughout the week, or to come in and speak about upgrading, or this 5-year try before you buy it type of program. Is there any reason why we couldn't do that here?
So we've discussed that at length, and so there's two or three things that factor into that here. One is the board, and when we came on and we said, we want you to work with us, let's talk about who we are, what our brand is, and this number of years ago, it was not hard sell. It was become part of the family, get to know us, and hopefully you do that. And we have mechanisms in place to do that. So that's one thing. The second thing is we've talked about hiring a sales team, in a sense, a salesperson or whatever, and we're selling units for $1,000. You can't.
That's what I mean. It's like,
you can't. No one can survive it. You have to pay the person $50,000 a year to sit there.
okay, no, you don't, because most people in my industry, they work on commission only.
Right.
And especially somebody like me that's retired, that just wants something to do, there's a lot of us out there. There's a lot of us, because this is all timeshares around here, especially Lincoln.
Right.
And there's a lot that don't want to work like the hard sell. I was never hard sell.
Right.
Well,
that's, I think the board's open to listening to any of that.
Yeah, it's a soft sell.
Right.
Works best.
Yeah, and
become a friend.
Exactly.
Develop a relationship.
Become part of the family.
Yeah.
That's what we said.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We want to show you how great it is here. So we've talked about hiring a traditional salesperson. Obviously, a real estate person that has to raise a family could never do that. Right. So maybe there's a possibility of a retired that would do, set up things. And that's the challenge is, well, we get surveys, and we get comments, and some of the major comments are, boy, I just found out it was timeshare, but this is great. I didn't get garage. That was nice. I'll go, that was neat. That people don't even, with the residents that come here, very often don't even know it's a timeshare until they leave. Although there's posters around and there's different things, that would indicate that. And there's an owner's page on the website, and there's things that they should know it's a timeshare or some sort of ownership opportunity. But I think the board would be happy to listen to any of that. It is. I think the main thing was to not be the traditional. We discussed some horror stories this morning about current people, being they don't let them go, they grab on, and I have to say that you don't want that person sitting next to you at the meeting. You know what I mean? You don't want them here because if they're forced to come into here, they're not going to be a good neighbor.
Exactly.
And
I
so,
would also caution about the hockey people. I've worked up in New York with 11. They destroy places.
We've had them for the last couple of years.
Really?
We've never had a problem.
Okay, maybe because it's outside.
I think it's the makeup of the property here that's different.
Even bikers from Bike Week, no problems, they're the best.
Yep.
So one other thing, and I don't know how we're gonna, if this is gonna work out all that well today, but we don't have a ton of time, but we have a video that talks, we want to do 2 videos this year. Update the video that's on the website right now, which talks about timeshare and the experience here, talks about the family. That's there now, getting a little outdated, and we want some new people in there. And we also want to do a video that basically says why timeshare. Why? What are the benefits generally of timeshare? Because I think there's a generation of people that, I have to say that 90%, 80 to 90% of all the marketing out there to do with timeshare is basically how bad timeshare is, how to get out. Many of them are scams, they're whatever, but that's what the average person is hearing. Do you want to get out of your timeshare? We can do it for you. Do you want to get out of your timeshare? So someone who's thinking of timeshare for the first time has seen these ads, and a lot of them. And what we need to do is, and we can't change that market. I mean, there's associations that need to change that. But I think we can answer some questions about timeshare with a video. So we're looking for people today to talk to us like we did it last year and the year before. Hopefully young families. I don't want to see a lot of young families. Not that we're
Anybody who has kids back in a unit?
Yeah, anybody have kids back in a unit? We're not going to check IDs, but and it's not to say we don't want everybody else, but it's so if you have a family back in the unit, or the other thing is on the sign-up sheet, tell us the week you're coming with your family. And we will find you during that week, and we'll be in touch, and we will update this video with younger people and get a good combination of younger and older, oldish. I'm not gonna say that. So we will be in the lobby after we're done, right back there, and Justin and I will be right there, done and standing up. And so, but either today or we're trying to figure out some times. We try to do this year, and Corinne doesn't know who's coming in or whatever. And if we can't do this, we're probably going to start hiring models. So, and that'll get a little more expensive. So, give them a week and then say, oh yeah, you're on. Great, you can talk. So, I'm Peter at evpcreative.com. Our phone number is 236-603-236-4946. You can ask me questions now, but I think it's getting late. Email me or call me anytime. I think it's a great idea we give a report to the board every month. It's sort of a topic report. It's not things to discuss and things to go over and whatever. So our report could be added to the minutes and posted so you know where we're headed and you know what we're discussing on a monthly basis. Because a lot happens in this. These guys are amazing and hi.
I just have one question.
Yes.
How many of those weeks have you sold on your 5-year? Keep
Span.
5 years and then...
3? 3. Yeah. And again, we're wondering as we go forward, we're still on digital, but we're wondering whether that's a branding thing or it's really the people that are leaving here are the people that we need to communicate with because they've been here and they're now starting to see who Cold Spring is, and if they've had a good experience, those are the people we're hitting up with email and trying to keep pushing on this.
Yeah, our kids all use Airbnb and home away, going places, and I think you started
Yes.
trying that out.
Oh, yeah,
And that's
we
going
are
well.
in the Airbnb.
Yeah, so
Yeah, we've had
that
people
looked like
come.
a path of,
Yeah, we've sold a number of things on Airbnb,
Yeah.
Airbnb and VRBO, both,
Yeah.
both of them.
Yeah.
And again, I think I said this last year, we had somebody that was sort of saying they had units here and then would sort of come back and try to get the unit once someone came. So we need to get into that, and we got into it.
the other thing was, like, Common Man opened up that barn.
Right,
events.
Right.
So trying to link into
Yes.
anything where you could rent units.
We've had
There's no
that.
places to sit.
No, we've
Correct,
had
that's-
weddings from there come here.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
That was the hockey group and wedding stuff that we're reaching out to try to get with everybody. I think you would know. You have?
You can email him.
You're working a lot with trying to put ads on Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook is getting, has a bad rap for
Yeah.
selling the data and all other stuff.
Yeah.
Are you, and you want to go towards more millennials, are you moving towards, I see the, for 2020, other social medias?
Yeah, so.
There's a whole bunch of other ones that are more,
Instagram is coming up.
and they're owned by Facebook, so it's the
Right,
same.
right,
same
and
money.
they can, so keep it, so I, a 1.5 minute on Facebook versus Google. And Facebook is, I can target on Facebook, I can say, I want a bike rider that his birthday is on a Thursday in December. I can get very targeted, but that person isn't looking for this right now. It's a branding thing. It comes across their face, and they're looking at their posts from the friends, and they're doing this thing, but they're not interested in coming to Cold Spring or even finding a place to rent right now. They're not doing that. Google is basically target SEM, which we do, which is search engine marketing. Basically, these are people that are looking to stay in the mountains right now, and so they're already asking to see our ad, to see our posting. On the Google Display Network, same thing. These are people that are interested. It's called an in-market audience. So these are people that we can tell are in the market to go on vacation. And so two different ways to do it. One's a branding thing, one's a more. So we tend to do a lot more on Google than we do on Facebook. Facebook's great, and it gets some video through, and we have, and YouTube as well is the other one with the videos that we put out and we promote. So they're on there, but we push them every once in a while. Generally, the beginnings of seasons is when we push those videos out. So.
There we go. All right. Thank
Good?
you very
Thank
much.
you.
Yes.
Again, be in touch. We're here and ask us questions.
And if you forget who he is, just ask at the desk and they'll all know. Yeah.
You won't forget.
All right, just so you know for time, it's about 20 minutes to 12. We are leaving out of Lincoln at 1 for the turkey train, so you need to be there about 12:45 with your group, so we don't have any poor people chasing after the train. Lincoln, up near Loon, so we might kind of just breeze through. There's not much up, quite honestly. So, old business, actions from 2018 annual meeting, discussed, resolved by the board, none.
There's nothing there, okay?
New business. Am I shifting right over to him? The nominating committee and election of 2 directors, which is George and John. Ron's taking over this here. Just yell, Ron. You're up.
Oh, okay.
Just yell.
My voice doesn't project too much, but what I have to do is just read these 2 paragraphs, and then we'll be electing 2, well, we don't know if they're going to be new, but new directors. So I'll explain what's going to happen. Current association directors John Pellegrini, treasurer, and George W. Riley, secretary, have indicated their intention to run for re-election for the 3-year terms for the board of directors of Cold Spring Properties Townhouse Association to start at the end of November 9, 2019 annual meeting. In accordance with association bylaws, all owners have the opportunity to notify the association's nominating committee at least 90 days prior to the annual meeting with the intent to run for the board of directors. That mid-August deadline passed with only names of the 2 incumbent directors, Palladino and Riley, being received for consideration. The nominating committee therefore announces that the following names of the slate of endorsed candidates running unopposed on re-election for CSPTA board of directors. However, I'm going to now ask if we have anyone in the audience who would like to serve as a board member to raise their hand.
And the crowd goes wild. Look at that.
Second time. Does anyone in this nice broad audience like to become a board member at this time? Be elected this time?
Someone stepping down.
No, he has to ask 3 times.
No, you have to
Yeah.
ask.
Just ask it 3 times. The third time, does anyone wish to be looked as a nomination for the nomination of directors for the Board Association? Hearing none? And I don't even know what has happened with the proxies, because I haven't even looked at the proxies. George did. So, hearing none, we're going to be electing the 2 new directors, or 2 directors, and now George will go through. Sorry.
It's group effort.
To elect the new directors.
Oh, individually.
So the motion needs to be, we elect George to be on the board again, which year, forgot the last name.
Yeah, so
We
you have
elect
to.
George to be on the board again. Who wants to second it? Okay.
Those in
Unanimous
favor
vote?
say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Good work. Now we gotta do John.
John.
Oh, I can do it again?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, I nominate John D. to be on the board again for the next term,
I
second.
Second.
Lots
Those in-
Okay. vote.
Okay, so we have that. So now we have to just have a we just have to have someone from the board, the secretary, from the group to say if they could have the secretary cast 1 ballot for each of the nominations of George Riley and John Palladino to become members of the board. So do we have someone else?
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Look at that. We did our Are you reading however, everybody got? Or no, we don't care. Oh, next up. Oh, goodness, ballot committee report and proxies.
As always, we never reveal these until after the election is held. Okay, and it's my proud duty today to report on the summary of this sheet that was sent out to all of you. First, to accept all reports presented at this annual meeting, 187 votes for yes, 0 no, 3 abstain, for a total of 190. To elect 2 directors for terms of office, as indicated below, John R. Palladino, 107 yes, 187 yes, 0 no, 2 abstain, for a total of 189 votes. For moi, 193 yes. I just have more relatives voting. That's all. Don't read anything into that. 0 no, thank God. My wife didn't vote no this year. Okay. Two abstain. Oh, you know her well. For a total of 195 votes. And the final item, to vote on any other item that might come before the assembly, 182 yes, 1 no, and 3 abstain, for a total of 186. That concludes the report of the proxy ballot committee. Thank you to Gene Bishop again, as always, for going through all of the ballots.
James on first. All right.
Make a motion.
So there's a motion to accept, do we have this? Yes, doesn't matter. Sure. Yes, a motion to accept, which you did. Yes, can someone second it?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you. So, the last thing under new business. Other actions from the floor prepared in advance in writing, sent to George by email. We had 3 emails come in. One was about resurfacing of the outdoor pool. If you were here in the summer and you saw it, you saw how it looks. rest assured that is being taken care of. So we always like when we get the emails, some people say, could you do this? We're like, yes, we're already on it, so thank you for that. I'm just gonna flip the way I get it here. Another email came in about door safety locks. So that the main doors, when you're walking into your unit, there's a little, I don't know the real word for it, but there's a little thing that you can put on the door and it opens up and it's like a strike. So the door won't open, it's a safety lock thing. We had actually just discussed that too. So that worked out great in our favor.
There's the word.
We had someone ask if we could add the Turner Classic Movie Channel to our cable package.
They did all the homework.
What the difficulty is, you can't order a la carte. Yes, it's 77 units times however many TVs and all of that. We already pay well over $4,000 for cable. If we upgrade to the next thing that would allow us to have that one particular channel, it's going to be over $5,000 a month for that. That package. So that's where that went.
Write your computer and we'll have Hulu.
And you can stream it. We said that streaming could work. So the third one. So the third email the third letter that was up for discussion, and I think the big thing that I want you to understand, we are not asking for a motion, we just need to let you know that this was brought up. We've talked about it, and we will continue to talk about it. I'm like, what is she possibly going to say? They would like that the porches of the units be included as a no smoking area, which would mean we would have to have a designated smoking or designated smoking areas about the resort. And quite honestly, we're just still in discussion about that. We've been to many hotels where there is absolutely no smoking. We saw a resort in Maine a month or so ago where they had one designated spot for smokers that was not near any of the units. I think it's probably something that's coming up as time goes on. I grew up in a family of smokers. My grandparents smoked, my aunt smoked, everybody smoked. I don't know going forward what's going to happen generationally. It's just out there. I just want you to know these were the 3 items of new business that came up.
The person who sent us the letter just had a bad experience, and it was a bad experience with a family beneath them who had been there for 10 years previously, and they really never noticed the problem. So we don't know what happened this year that created the problem. And he was just asking to include the porches as part of the facility unit itself. So, I mean, we had a fire here because people were smoking outside the building. It's a dilemma.
The bylaw that's already established for that, does that include the porch or does not?
No, it does not. The porches are allowed as a smoking area.
So the bylaw specifically said that the porch was allowed?
It doesn't address it.
It doesn't address it.
No. No, the no smoking policy is separate and apart, actually, that we passed here at this meeting 7 years ago. So that would have to be adjusted, but not at this meeting. That's something that we're just throwing it out for commentary. And if a vote is required, of course, that would have to be, thoroughly researched, talked about, discussed by the board, and then we'd make a recommendation, and then we'd vote on that following year, next year, okay?
So could we, I don't know if anybody wants to speak on that, but is that something that we could put on for the meeting next year? Is that something that we should entertain?
Well, depending on what people say today, yes.
Sure, anyone who was first.
I think the smoking business can be really serious if somebody above is there who has asthma and will end up either in the emergency room or dead. I know what the question is.
I know from my own experience, having sliders open, it's like a vacuum. It pulls the smoke right into it.
porch area.
Right.
I think it's more up here in east because you have the upstairs and then people are slowing down, it's going up. It's not so much, I don't think, in the other areas because you can just go right outside. so.
Except when the wind is blowing.
Yeah,
True,
Yeah.
You know, we have noticed that is a road tendency, that it's very important marketing value.
Yes.
That you're able to say all units are smoked.
Well, they are.
No, you know,
Technically,
but what happens in all areas, that is something,
No,
if you travel.
It's never been questioned before. That is not to say that the porch is not part of the unit.
See, the
This
porch
person is asking for clarification.
All I'm saying is moving forward, in terms of selling, in terms of marketing, that can be a very important.
Oh, absolutely. And my personal feeling as a non-smoker is the porch is part of the unit,
It's part of the
therefore it's a no smoking area.
Yes, and you're gonna find that that is the tendency, the more you travel, the more it does become a marketing part of it.
Here, this purple here, these are.
Hi, regarding the smoking on porches, if there was an owner or even somebody who rented or traded that was on oxygen, you cannot be smoking within so much feet, so many feet of that person smoking, regardless whether they're on the first floor, second floor, it doesn't matter. It's a safety issue for that person who is on oxygen as well as everyone else, because that oxygen tank could explode. And
Other people don't know these are.
exactly, but for the person who's on oxygen, for their HIPAA right, they,
You don't always
other
know
people do
who's-
not need to know that somebody is on
They
oxygen.
have to
So that would
disclose
only
it.
include the buildings that are double.
We can make it all.
Well, it would be any building. I mean, it'd just be a reaffirmation of the policy we
I
have now.
see.
That's it.
Right.
And the back there, I get, yep, go ahead.
Okay, we had a unit in the summer, and for the last 2 years, we have walked into that unit and it reeks of smoke. Last year, they gave us 2 cans of spray to make the smoke go away, smoke go away. Are you enforcing the fines against people who smoke? It's not the owners, because it's not 2 years, renters wouldn't get it 2 years in a row. Are you enforcing the fines against
If
smokers?
anybody, if the housekeepers or anybody comes down and tells us, yes.
Because they don't get it. Maybe the fine should go up to the point where it hurts, really hurts. 2 years in a row, come on. Which goes back to if you make everything non-smoking, including the porches, fine. But you better be prepared to go after the people who ignore it.
Yes.
Yes,
Because it's been
Exactly
bad.
right, yeah,
So either these people are brain dead and don't get it,
yeah.
or they're
Well,
independently wealthy and don't care.
yeah, and if you have an owner though that's gone in there and smoked, and then we send them a bill for $250 or whatever it is, I think that's what it is. I can bet you they're gonna come back and say it wasn't them, because we've had this happen. And it's
Really?
like-
So the cleaning people went in and smoked, well, they took off, right?
you wouldn't even believe some of the people who do things and say they didn't do it.
Sure.
Not being a member of the board, I can say without doing any kind of research, or thinking about it all that much, but since we already lost the building because of somebody smoking, to me it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
How many buildings we're gonna lose before we change the rules?
We lost that building because they went outside and put their ashes out in the pine needles.
Yeah.
So if we're telling people,
But it has to be designated.
yeah, well,
And that's what so we are taking into, as I said, thank you very much, because obviously when we're together, we know how we feel. We thought, well, we need to speak to everyone, so, yes, go ahead.
Maybe I misunderstood what you said initially, but do we need to have a designated area for smokers?
That's a whole other ball of wax.
you have a lot of owners that are smokers, and what are you gonna do? Shun them? They're gonna say, I don't wanna be here
We'll have to
anymore.
think about that.
So you have to think about that.
Then have you discussed the points of where the smoking area will be? Yeah,
No.
I just got up.
This really just came up. I think, I'm not a smoker, okay, I want to preface that. We have to think about the people that are smokers, and what are they going to do? Now, I understand, we don't want to interrupt anybody else's lifestyle or anything like that, but there are people who are smokers, and they have been subjugated to the worst conditions possible to smoke. So they've been isolated out there. The last thing we want to do is make people who have been coming here for years feel uncomfortable. We want to try to get to the point where everybody's happy, where it's a win-win situation. People can't smoke at the pool. They can't smoke in their building. You know, where are we going to put people?
So I guess my follow-up question would be, how many times has this been brought to your attention, Corinne? If it's only one time,
This
then
is
why
the
don't you
first
see it
time.
as is?
This is the first time.
Right.
But it's an issue. It's an issue that we need to discuss.
Yep.
I think I'll take like one more, and then I'm sorry, I just pressed, I think we're all sort of saying the same thing. Go ahead.
I think just because it's been brought forward once doesn't necessarily mean that it could have been brought forward. We happen to own the unit of the building that burned down. And we still come here in July, and there's usually another group, even though we're all on the same level, there's a group of people that smoke cigars. Now, we like to sit out on our porch, but I can't do that. I have reactionary asthma, so it affects us.
It's not a question.
Right, it's not a question, sure.
Do we hear what our marketing company would say about this? Did you ask our marketing company what they were thinking of the company?
We haven't had time, so at the next meeting when we all meet, Jared's present. Yeah.
Peter, what do you think
Oh,
about that?
Peter's
What's
here.
that?
I saw John leave, that's why that. What do you think about not smoking in, having a designated smoking area?
I think the world's going that way. I think if you go to almost any hotel in the country, there's a place to go to do that. You can't do it in your room. And in Colorado, they say you can't smoke pot either. So just so you know.
Yeah, but that was the thing.
Right.
Yeah, so,
No, it's basically, you know, there are designated areas and there's.
We walked through
One at a time, you can't hear.
We walked through Tanglewood a year or two ago, and they had special designated outdoor smoking areas. And I can see that here, away from the buildings, maybe where there's some trees, so the leaves can take up the smoke, and have some benches and have it really nice and comfortable, have some sun and some shade.
Yeah, we will definitely
Yeah,
be
and it
considering.
could be more than one.
Right. I'm going to ask now if you have any, obviously there's lots of thoughts about it. Would you please email us so that we can have it and we can have it all done? Sure.
I move
I have a
that the
question.
board of directors continue to investigate this problem and report back at the next annual meeting with the recommendation.
Again. Do I have to say all? No, it's okay.